Alright, hi everyone. So, welcome back to the channel, I guess. Today I'm making a tier list on the type of bots in Robocraft. I believe Vladicat already made a video of his own, and because, well, he's the one who made the tier list. So, I decided to do it, because why not? There's no script for this, so I'm just gonna start from here and end here. Alright, first of all, we have a standard Mega Plate Sprinter plane. I'd say this is an A tier. Rail Ion is still a very, very strong combination, and sprinter planes themselves are also very strong. Uh, some people do complain that the carrier mass is not enough, but I think that it's perfectly fine because sprinter planes most of the time don't even fly. And the fact that they have wings, they provide infinite stability for the sprinters, so they are a lot better than just standard sprinters. Uh, in some ways, of course, but they are fairly slow because of the current meta of or like just the general bots being very fast thanks to hovers having insane amount of speed boost, which brings us to hover spam sprinter planes, which is a straight up S tier. This is literally meta, I'd say, just the meta. I don't think there's much to say. It's basically this but better. Some people do argue that now that chain SMG is better, full noodle is not that worth it anymore. However, I still think that full noodle is fairly strong in both competitive and casual aspects. And because of that, I'd say both of these spots are S tier and A tier accordingly. Alright. Sprinter copters. I know this is a mono ion, but I believe this is sprinter copters in general. I think these are a B tier. I'd say like maybe like a low A tier or maybe high B tier. It's one of either. I think this because sprinter copters don't have the stability that sprinter planes do. Uh, Rotors, they do provide some sort of stability, but the force when providing the stability is not as strong as wings. So there are often times when you're brawling where you might bump into someone and just flip around for no reason. The turning is also fairly slow. They do very strike very fast, making them really effective with certain weapons like SMG, rail or chain. However, I think the sprinter planes can do the exact same thing, but better because they don't tip over every now and then. And because they don't use wings and use pitch rotors, they also don't have infinite stability after they lose their rotors. Whereas with sprinter planes, if you lose the wings, you still have as long as you kept the rotors alive, you'll be 100% stable no matter what you do. Whereas with sprinter copters, you don't really get that benefit. And furthermore, the loadouts is very limited because it's the balancing of rotors. It's actually more effective than wings. Where like if you use wings and the center of mass is very tilted to one side, it won't the bot won't tilt to one side a lot of the times. Whereas with copters, if your mass is even slightly to the right or left, the entire bot would tilt towards that way and fuck up your strafing in one way or another. Yeah. Next up, Pure Spider. I'd say it's an E tier, maybe an F, but I don't think F is nearly as bad to be F. So E because their hitbox is very fucking massive. Hovers are currently the best backup movement because how compact and how much they can be integrated into the bot's body. But if you use hovers with spiders, you will teleport all over the map because of a bug. And this teleportation is not controllable like a blink modules, and it will sometimes glitch through the ground. It'll bug out your weapons so they become unusable. So spiders they basically have no form of backup movement at all. And also, if you only have one side of spider legs left, or if you only have one spider leg left, your movement is very scuffed. So I'd say it's an E tier. Skis, I'd say it's E as well. I think it's better than Spider though, because I think in competitive it's garbage just like Spiders, but in casual it might be okay. I don't think it's good. It's like borderline usable in casual, like very very borderline usable because of how high speed. Like especially in TDM, if you don't have any bots, you can just run on the map and poke from various angles, and you, if you use it properly, you're unkillable because of how fast you can go in and out of a situation. Okay. Uh, Pure hovers. I know it has rudders, but we call them pure hovers because hovers without rudders are unusable. I'd say it's a solid C tier, like the standard. Their stability is very unreliable after F equals ma, but that's about the only reason. They are a very standard and good movement, and they're excellent for as a backup movement. But as a primary movement, they're just too unreliable because of their potential instability without rudders and a bunch of thrusters. Hover spam. This used to be A tier. I don't think it's S tier because of how fragile it is, but it used to be at least A tier, like high A tier. But right now, I'd say it's like a C tier. I think it's under pure hovers because the speed boost per unit of tier 4 hovers got nerfed, so they're not as fast anymore, which was like the biggest benefit. They could just run around the whole map without any like downsides. So that's just basically normal hover but worse, I think. Mega hover spam hovers. I'd say this is like a solid C tier as well. I don't think it's competitive viable, but in casual, it's very hard to destroy because of how much HP it has from all the mega hovers. And all the mega hovers provides fairly normal stability for a hover. Like I'd say it's just like a standard hover as well. It's just basically this but larger, but because it's larger, it has a lot more HP. I think it's just an okay bot for casual. Copters. I'd say this is like a higher C tier. These are basically hovers, but like slightly better, I guess, because you have slightly more mobility in terms of vertical mobility. But their vertical mobility is only useful in most of the time in repositioning and peaking because flak and rail being very oppressive to copters. If you're mid-air as a copter and you get caught out to a flak or rail, you're basically dead because your although you do have high mobility overall, your agility is very very low. Even if you're very light, you are very predictable, and the rotors make for a very large hitbox, which makes them easily grounded and just turn into a normal hover. Which in one way turns basically makes them a hover that can fly sometimes, and then when they get derotored, they just turn into normal hover. That's just basically how you try to force a copter, and that's how a copter works. Pure planes, I'd say it's an A tier. This might be controversial, but pure planes are very fast. They have infinite stability, just like spirit planes. They have very high mobility. In terms of you can get out in and out of situations very fast. Uh, and your HP is okay. I don't think it's the greatest HP, but at least you're not on a ski or drone where you're just 90% thrusters. You have some decent chunk of HP in there. I'd say it's a solid A tier. Normal car, F tier. I would put it in the E or D tier, but the reason why it's F tier is because of a bug. Another one, bug, where the steering is very scuffed and you do 360 wheelies every time you press A and D, even slightly. It is a very known bug, and we're trying to fix it, but because of that, pure cars are unplayable. Okay, speed plane with thrusters, D tier. Maybe C tier? I'd say D tier because they are fragile. They are very very fast. That's for sure. And then you can run around doing things, but your weapon choices are very limited to burst or lock on weapons, and lock on weapons are not very powerful at the moment. And burst weapons basically all you have is plasma and sometimes rail if you're feeling a bit lucky, I guess. Uh, but speed planes with thrusters, they do okay against rail, but against SMG, you're even if you don't crit, you do lose your HP fairly fast. So I say it's D tier, maybe C tier. I might bump it up later on. So propeller planes, propeller speed. I'd say it's S tier. Maybe this is controversial, but I'd say it's S tier because you have every benefit of pure plane, every benefit of a speed plane, but you actually have a lot of HP thanks to all the propellers. And your weapon choices can be fairly diverse as well. Because of your HP, you can actually stand around in the battle for a little bit longer than any other plane. And because you're so fast, you can go in and out of battle matches very, like engagements very fast, and overall make for a very good quality. Uh, Okay, so I think this is a camera controlled hoverplane. Camera controlled hoverplane, I'd say it's also an S tier. because you are basically hover, which I say it's like a standard good movement, right? It's like hover, but you have infinite stability. Basically, you remove every single issue you have with a normal hover. You have vertical mobility, you have infinite stability, you have strafing, you have good strafing, you have okay base speed depending on going how many thrusters you have or how many hovers you have. And your weapon choices are very, very diverse. You can pretty much use almost every single weapon in the game and do completely fine with it. That makes for an S tier, I'd say. Keyboard control hoverplane, I'd say it's also an S tier. Uh, Keyboard control hoverplanes, they are basic keyboard planes, but like they are basically this but better. This but better because they have a lot of point presence, and the hovers make for very high agility. You can do some movements with a hoverplane that you can't with a normal plane, and also the hovers allow you to stick on the ground, which gives you a lot of point presence and allows you to actually contest well. Unlike planes, pure planes, where you will eventually bump in and out of the point, even how hard, how no matter how hard you try, unless you stand absolutely still, which in which case you're basically just dead. So keyboard hover plane, I'd say it's S tier. Helium. Blimp after I don't even know if I have to explain this. Flak is a thing. You have no mobility. Yes, you have high HP, but that's all you have. You're the skybox. Nothing's accurate. You just have a bunch of HP. You're in the fucking skybox where everyone can see you. Everyone can shoot you. There's really no point in using the blimp. It's just straight up F tier. Just the dog shit. A standard drone, a camera control drone. I say it's a D tier. It's like, it's like a copter but worse because you lack a lot more HP and your weapon choices are very limited. Because drones have to be extremely lightweight, and even if they are designed to be lightweight as possible, they do end up fairly heavy even for a drone, and they end up very unagile. uh Standard agile copter is like a standard copter. It's like the same agility as the most agile camera drone out there, unless it's like super flat. So yeah, drones, they're okay in casual, competitive. They're absolutely not usable in any way or form. So D tier. Hover drones. Basically, they're like a combination of a normal hover and drone. I'd say it's basically I'd say it's like around here. This has a lot more, like it's like the between a copter and a hover. You basically have a drone, but it's better because you have decent, like okay air strength. It's not the best. You should stick to the ground more, but all the thrusters allow you to have a lot more agility on the ground as even as a hover, making it like basically a ground drum just bouncing around, fairly hard to hit to some people, like most people, unless you're really good at aiming. And your stability is very high because you have a lot of thrusters. These thrusters, combined with camera tilt and the rudder, end up with like almost almost rotor like stability. I think the stability is about similar. And you do get the vertical mobility from the propellers that most of these come with. And unlike normal drones, these can use a lot more, can have a lot more weight and remain mobile thanks to the hovers. So you are allowed to have modules and mega weapons, which is a huge bonus to, uh, like a huge plus compared to a standard drone. T stick. Uh, I think that explains it. T-sticks are literally the worst thing you can ever use. It's like a plane, but you use the HP of a drone. You have the mobility of a drone. Your speed is basically just a normal plane. I mean, it's slightly faster, but not that much, honestly. And then you're stupid fragile. Your DPS is shit. You really can't do anything on the T-stick. T-stick just below F tier. It's like the worst thing you can ever use. Tesla. One of the most controversial bot times in game, let's say. I'd say it's an A tier. Or maybe B. I think A or B. The Teslas, they're very hard to be competitively viable, maybe casual, where a lot of people don't have the awareness and aim to deal with the Tesla. It might be very strong. In casual, it would be top of S tier. However, in competitive, because competitive players have a lot higher awareness than the average player, and the aim is also a lot better. Teslas are very hard to use effectively in high tiers, especially with hover spam. Basically, being able to outrun you when you just hold S when you're holding W, and just B-blade you instantly because Tesla blades they are tier 4 guns with the size of a mega weapon, right? Uh, because of this, Teslas are very hard to use in a competitive environment. In casual environment, they are very easy, I'd say, but in a competitive environment, I'd say it's very hard. But because the majority of the player base is casual, I'd say it's like an A tier, maybe B. Actually, I'm just gonna put it down as B tier, like top of B tier. I think they're better than Sprinter Copters, honestly. Uh, yeah, I'd say it's like a top of B tier, right here. Uh, this is module spam. I'd say this is a C tier. I'd say it's better than a copter because you have infinite stability. You're very compact. You have decent HP for your size. It's like the size of a drone, but a little bit more HP because you're basically made of damage sinks. But because modules themselves have very low HP to CPU ratio, your overall HP is not too high, honestly. Uh, it's okay. Like it's okay for casual. I almost want to bump it up to a B, but starting from up here, I'd say it's okay, competitive, viable. That makes Tesla a little bit less making sense with what I said earlier. Oh, I'm just gonna bump it down to bottom B. So starting for Sprinter Copters, I'd say it's competitively viable. This I don't think it's competitive viable. It's competitive usable. All of these are technically, but I don't think it's competitively viable. Spider car. I'd say it's like a solid B tier. They are basically a car, but you resolve the issue where you spin around in circles because the spider legs catch onto the ground. Uh, these spider cars, they're very fast. They have a lot of HP, like a lot of HP, thanks to helium and heavy T-Rex. Uh, they're not overpowered, but I'd say they're very strong. Actually, I want to put it at the top of B tier because of how viable it can be in both competitive and casual. I don't think it's competitive meta, but it's very competitive, very much competitively viable. This is a standard tank. I say it's like an. It depends. I say it's an F tier above wheels because tanks with certain weapons are usable with camera controls, while wheels with camera controls are very like literally unusable. Uh, so yeah, and tanks, higher tier tanks, tank tracks, they have a lot of speed boost per unit, so they are fairly fast. So I think it's better than this, but actually I want to put it at E, like above F tier. Like I think it's about the same as the spider. I think it's better than the spider actually. I think it's about this range right here. Spider tank, I'd say it's like uh I'd say it's like around here, like middle of C tier because they're basically a tank without the turning issues, just like I said. Because tank sharks also have very shit turning, but they don't have shit turning. They also have very good grip on the ground, so you don't wobble out of place constantly. So that's about it for spider tank. I think. I don't think there's much more explanation needed. Uh, mechs. I'd say mechs are a solid B tier, like bottom B tier, because of how much HP they have, and their turning recently got buffed. And I'm not a tank main, no, mech main at all, but I tested a few tanks, decent tanks in the, no, mechs in the shop, and they turn very well. So I'd say these are B tier. Their overall speed from all the speed boosts got okay. They're not good in terms of speed, but speed isn't their point, honestly. And although, yeah, speed is a very important factor in BA, you also have a very high uh, stats in like HP, which makes you excellent for point holding and basically just hogging an area in TDM. Because we're talking about competitive and casual here, right? So yeah, I'd say it's like a solid like bottom B, high C tier. Mechcopter, I'd say it's like, uh, hmm, I'd say it's like right here. No, I don't think there. Yeah, I'd say it's right here. It's like a mech, but you have better repositioning with a little less HP. Uh, yeah, there's not much to say about mech copters. They're just like sprinter copters, but slower, essentially, and less agile and overall. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say here. Spider mech, they do have high jump. I don't think there's a difference between a spider mech and a normal mech. Yeah, spider mech do have the super jump thing, but I personally disagree with the idea of helium being used as and being considered as the main way mechs are viable because I think heavy Q spam is perfectly fine. Uh, they are like not overpoweredly tanky, but they're like decently tanky. So I think heavy Q spam is fine. So I don't think the HP here is the key point. Like the HP of the helium here is the key point of why mechs are viable. So which is why I'm just gonna put these two out together. I think these are basically the same thing, honestly. They do have the super jump, but I don't really find good uses for the super jump because you're just saying, "Hey, enemy, I'm here," but then you take no damage because you have so high HP and nothing happens. Like, I mean, cool, you have super jump, but what the hell are you gonna do with it? Like, I mean, you can scale walls better, I guess. So, yeah, you can scale walls better because you have the spider leg. So I'll put it above the neck leg. Sprinters, standard sprinters and horses. I say they're both an A tier. I think they're better than planes, honestly. I think they're both an A tier. I think they're very underrated. They have very high mobility and very high point presence because of the legs providing so much strafing and the hovers. Because like heavier hovers, they have a lot more stability compared to lighter hovers. And because these sprinters have medium cubes and a mix of a little bit of heavy cubes, they are fairly heavy, so you're not too unstable at lower HP when you lose your legs. And you have very high mobility for your HP. Like you have very high mobility for your HP. Like you can jump across the map and stuff if you find the right jumping spots. Uh, and you can just like go around the map, killing people. And your weapon options are very versatile. You can basically use almost every weapon in the game as well. Their movement is very good. Vertical mobility, you might argue that is bad, but if you jump correctly, you can get to very high altitude places without any issue. The reason why I put horses above to like it's like standard sprinters is because of the redundancy in legs. And you have a like you don't have the same how do I say, not the same weapon versatility as a standard two-legged sprinter, but the most powerful combination, Rail Ion, is still very much viable on a horse, I'd say, if used correctly. So I'd say it's better than a standard sprinter. And also, you have the leg uh, redundancy, like I said, which makes for a lot because sprinter like they don't have a lot of HP, so they which is why they have backup hovers. Also, you can turn with them midair while sprinter jumping if you have hovers. But other than that, hovers are still unreliable. They're not as unreliable as a pure hover, but they are still fairly unreliable. So more legs for more like longer lasting mobility from a horse compared to a standard sprinter. I'd say that gives it a boost over a standard sprinter for a horse. So let's organize this a little. Skis, tanks, spiders, cars, helium, and blimp, T-stick. Uh-huh. Um. Um. Hmm. Yeah, I'd say I am happy with this list. Yeah, so this is my tier list of the more popular bot types that are around these days. So if you have any opinions, feel free to share them. Of course, some might disagree because this is an opinionated tier list, right? I'm not saying this is an objective tier list. These are very subjective opinions of how they are based on my personal experience. But yeah, if you have personal opinions, feel free to share. I'll link Flattercast channel down below along with this tier list. So if you want to make it yourself, you can feel free to do it. And if you did it, then you can join like EP Discord. You can find it on my guides video descriptions. You can go there and say and ping me. I'm regulars in Discord as well. You can ping me and say, hey, I made this and we can discuss. I don't really mind. So yeah, I guess this is a tier list for now. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.